Welcome, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Today, we're going to talk about a miraculous transformation that my friend Troy here is going to talk with you about. You're going to be surprised at what, the human body is capable of when they have a really important intention in their lives. And so you'll enjoy the unfolding of Troy's story. And if this resonates with you, please like, subscribe, and share with all your people, because this story has a lot to do with human potential that lives right inside of you. Welcome, Troy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you.
Yes.
So I want to just let the audience hear your story step by step, because it unfolds beautifully.
Yeah.
And it keeps leading to more and more interesting points. But let's just start with letting them know who you are. Tell a little about what you do, where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Troy Dreiling. I'm actually from Vancouver, Washington. I was born in Portland, and so I've been here my whole life. And I got injured when I was 12 years old. I fell off a three-wheeler. And then the next day I couldn't stand up. So my grandma, she took me to her neighbor's chiropractor, and he basically fixed me up, and I was able to walk, and never really thought about chiropractic or anything until I was in high school, and I hurt my shoulder playing football, and I couldn't use my shoulder. So I went to this chiropractor, he fixed up my shoulder, and I went, all right, this is kind of cool. I want to go into that profession. I want to be a physical therapist. So I went to Eastern Washington University, started studying. And I got hurt bodybuilding. I was deadlifting, hurt my low back again from that three-wheeler injury from the years before. And so I went to this chiropractor in Cheney, Washington. He laid me on the table, started talking to me about why I should be a chiropractor and not a physical therapist. And I went, I'm in, sign me up. And I always say thank God for out-of-state tuition, because I almost went to pharmacy school.
Wow.
So my grandpa said, that's where the money is, going to pharmacy. I checked out Oregon State University, and tuition for out of state was quite a bit more. So I went to a local college, Eastern, which is up in Spokane. So anyway, long story short, I became a chiropractor. I've been practicing 30 years, and it helped me. So I thought I could do this. I helped lots of people over the last 30 years or so.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me and my profession and what I've been doing. And I built one of the largest practices in probably the state, if not the country. I had some good coaching and mentors, and it wasn't about, hey, I want to build the largest practice. I was just excited to help people.
I love that story. I didn't know any of that about you. And what I love about it is that sometimes it's our own. It's wonderful when it's our own experience, a way that we got hurt, we got helped, and then we make a meaningful life out of it, wanting to share what we've learned from that. And I love that you've had so much success with it, and it had so much inherent meaning from the day you started.
Yeah.
Do you still feel in touch with that meaning every time you go in there?
I do, but we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of why we're here today, but and why I came to see you. But that's really what drove me. I think is, hey, I just want to help people. Zig Ziglar always said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
I love it.
And so have a wonderful family and great career and all that, and enjoy life. That was kind of the whole goal of helping more people. So
it's beautiful.
It was. I mean, I've seen some amazing things happen in our clinic. I was in on a mission trip in Panama in the late mid 90s, and people were walking 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to come see us, and we were seeing 1,000 to 1,500 people a day.
Wow.
And there was a group of 60 of us spread across Panama. So I saw really the power of what we can do with our hands for people without all the bureaucracy. Because now, we've got HIPAA, we got all the paperwork, but people would just come in, sit down in the chair, we'd work on them, they'd feel better. I mean, we'd see people that couldn't walk, blind, vision come back, hearing restored, just miracle stuff. And so that's what got me into this. And I'm like, this is bigger than just back pain. It's about reconnecting them to the source, the power source.
I love it. Oh, it's such a beautiful story. I bet that trip is with you for the rest of your life. You'll never forget it.
Yep.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Okay. So tell us, you have this successful practice. There was a lifestyle that was going along with it.
Yes.
And a mindset that was going along with it, which led you to the hospital.
Yeah.
So tell the audience that story. How did you get in the hospital, and how did that mindset contribute?
I look back now and I go, you got to take care of yourself. And so I'm so busy taking care of other people, I really forgot to take time to take care of myself. So I started golfing, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And 30 years ago, I golfed quite a bit when I was in college. And then I got married and I stopped golfing. And so maybe a couple of years ago, I picked it back up. And it was kind of my way to, hey, I want to go out in nature and be connected to the universe and,
Yeah.
just go. It was more like, I'm going to go for a walk in a park-like setting. I just happened to follow this white ball around and try to hit it in a hole. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't really frustrate me. It's fun being out there. But I was at the range one day and started getting really lightheaded. I was at the golf range and I went inside and to the front desk and I'm yelling at this guy, Mike, and he was nowhere to be found. I think he was in the bathroom. He's like the front desk guy.
Yeah.
So this guy, Bob, comes up and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm really lightheaded. I can't breathe. So he come to find out he was a retired paramedic. And so, or an EMS paramedic. And so he started doing all these maneuvers with me and I couldn't get my lightheadedness to go away. And I was trying to look at my heart on my watch. Prior to that, I'd had AFib for 2 years.
Okay.
And so, I thought I was good. And then this thing happened. So I actually went into what they call VTAC, so my atrium was fibbing out. Now my ventricles started freaking out and my heart rate was like 270.
Wow.
So, that's not sustainable for life.
Extremely fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just felt, I didn't hurt or anything. I just felt super lightheaded, like I'm losing oxygen, which I was because my heart wasn't pumping the blood. It was just quivering.
Wow.
So anyway, the paramedics come and they were there pretty quick. I'm like, call my wife. So she shows up. We're in the lobby at the golf range, and people are like, what the heck's going on? So they strap me with these pads and they're like, we're going to shock you. And I'm like, oh man,
scary.
Here we go. So the lady's like, we're going to give you some pain meds, but it's probably not going to feel it. I mean, you're probably going to feel it when we shock you.
Okay.
It's going to be, we need to do this quick. So
Yeah.
I heard the thing wind up. The machine is like, bzzz. I'm like, oh man, here it comes. And they're like, wait. And I'm like, no, I was ready for it. But
Yeah.
anyway, so they do it again. They shock me. And I think I said a few cuss words. And Mike's like, you were entitled to that. So anyway, basically my heart stopped when they shocked me.
Oh, wow.
So it stopped for 2 minutes, apparently.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. So I was dead.
That was not supposed to happen.
No, but they had to do that to get me out of that rhythm.
Yes.
And
yes.
And then they had to do CPR. And then anyway, I went to the hospital and I woke up 6 hours later.
Wow. So you were in a coma for a little while.
But I mean, I don't know if it was a coma or just unconscious. Or they drugged me out or.
Okay.
I mean, I just wasn't coherent.
Yeah.
All I remember is getting shocked and that was it. And then I woke up with the tube in my throat and I was like, man, I'm thirsty. And they gave me some water and I threw up. That's kind of what I remember.
Wow.
And then my kids were like looking at me and I said, that was a technical foul. That's what the first thing I said. When I threw up, I'm like, that's a technical foul.
That's hilarious. You have a sense of humor in the worst of moments.
So I was like, what the heck happened? So I had no idea what happened. And,
Wow.
So that's kind of where I think, I don't know if I called you like 3 days later or something. I'm like, something's got to change because pretty much died and came back to life. And so
pretty much. Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? That's called, and I go back to the story and I tell people, I go, it feels like Mike Tyson knocked me out, like punched me as hard as he could. I was knocked out. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay.
Yeah. And was it your wife that initiated the call to me or was it your own awareness?
My wife was talking to a friend of hers who'd come to see you. And so for whatever reason, she came to see you, but that's what I'm like, I got to do something to shift my thought process here.
Okay, good. And that's how you came to me.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And when you came in, do you remember what you were looking for?
Just, like, hey, I got to pause, take time for me. And, how can I unpack all this? Cause like I look back and I go, I just felt like I was carrying the burden of everything. In my life, my practice, staff, my family, my kids, the finances, the house.
Yeah.
Everything was all on me. And so I'm like,
yes,
my body basically said, it's time to chill out, dude. It's, you gotta figure something else out. Cause this ain't the long haul path. Yeah.
Good. So you had a little awareness. This is a bigger pattern. I don't know what to do with it. This is what I tend to do. And I got to do something to change that or this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So after your first session, you just stopped drinking completely. Is that true?
Yeah.
Can you talk us back to how you went from drinking most every night?
Yeah, my wife and I would have like, come home from work and we'd have wine
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
we'd have some wine. And that was, I mean, and I look back and I go, that was just a way to cope,
Yeah.
It
It was a
wasn't,
part of the whole bigger problem.
yeah, it was like, oh, let's eat, drink some wine, hang out, watch TV. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a healthy pattern.
Right. It wasn't, abject alcohol dependence, but it
Yeah.
was a habit that was built upon this way of life.
Yeah.
That was like the tip of the iceberg, the top
Yeah.
of the iceberg.
Yeah. That was like our way to decompress, I guess.
Yeah.
I look
Yeah.
back and I go, well, how else can we do it now? Well, let's go for a walk or let's do something a little different, meditate, read.
Yeah. So after that first session, you just stopped. You went from most every night
Yeah.
to stopping. What
Yeah.
do you think worked to make that so doable? That's
Well-
the thing that a lot of people struggle with.
Well, I remember, I think like our first session, maybe it was second, but I think it was first. But I remember you were like, okay, you can keep going down that path. You were.
Mhm.
I don't want to say asleep, but I was in the chair.
Yes.
The
You're-
comfy chair.
Yes.
With my eyes closed, and you're like, you can go down this path, and you're back in the hospital, blah blah blah, and they're looking at reading your eulogy, or you could go down this healthy path and be vibrant and enjoy life and live till you're 100 or whatever your choice is. I went, I'm gonna go that way.
And you did.
Yeah.
And you just went
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
You went that way. Good. I'm glad that you brought that up because it speaks to what goes on in our consciousness that makes things change. Because people think hypnosis is this or that. What it really is, in my opinion, is it takes you to the core of yourself and speaks to that deepest part of you who knows, remembers somewhere deep inside of you what you wanted out of life. And then when I show you, you can choose this.
Yeah.
You have every right to choose it. I'm
Yep.
just going to unequivocally show you where it takes you. It
Yeah.
takes you back to the hospital. It takes you there young. It takes your family having to figure out the guy who they've relied on is now not there.
Yeah.
And now we have to figure it all out for ourselves. Not having the guidance of a loving father through the rest. It didn't pull any punches. That's
You
where,
just speak the truth.
right.
It's like, hey, this is the truth. You can choose it.
That's right. And I love to say that the truth is what heals all wounds. It's not time.
Yeah.
It's truth. So
Yeah.
when I showed you I showed your subconscious, the deepest part of you, it's this or this, and it's your choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You chose on a deeper level than someone deciding, I need to lose some weight.
Yeah. And
You
that
know?
really wasn't why I came to see you. I want to lose 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Even though I've done that,
Right.
right? I haven't had a
Yeah.
drop alcohol. I mean, not that I'm like, I don't even crave it. I'm like, it doesn't even, my wife will have wine. I'm like, here's some wine. Doesn't even like, it's not
Doesn't
like,
even
I
faze
got to
you.
have it.
It's amazing because it's so different than someone battling, like, I've got to make myself stop doing this. It's
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah.
And the only way that we could make that happen easily is to talk to the deepest, truest part of you that's right in line with your purpose here, your dreams, what you came here to be and what you want to do and what you want to experience. So I love hanging on that point that you just did it. You just stopped.
Yeah.
It no longer was.
You
viable.
also mentioned there was a guy who was eating like, I don't know, 2 or 3 pizzas, whatever it was
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
night.
Yes.
And then he went and had a pizza and he just had one slice.
Yes.
I went, oh, okay. And how did that happen? Well, I don't know, but it did.
Exactly. It's the same thing.
It wasn't the pizza. It was his subconscious
Telling
trying to
him.
fill a void or something.
Yeah. The subconscious associates now that fourth piece of pizza, or even for him, the second piece of pizza, with that path that he's not choosing. He does not want that. And so his subconscious said, oh, wait, that takes you there.
Yeah.
Just like yours sees alcohol and it's like, yeah, I don't want that because that doesn't take me where I want to go.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is all of us have this mechanism. It's just been buried under layers of conditioning.
Yeah.
But hypnosis can get to it.
Yeah.
So I love your story. It's
Yeah.
so fun. All right. So then we continued. You had stopped drinking and then you lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
So you just tap into how many people would love to lose 40 pounds and have battled for 4 decades or
gosh.
5 decades
Yeah.
with put it on, taking it off. They're in a battle. You
Yeah.
didn't battle
Well, I battled putting it on, trying to take it
Sure.
off, for
before
the
you
last
came here.
10 years or so.
Yeah.
It all led to where, me being in the hospital. So,
Yes, back then you had battled.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. But then the weight loss was easy. It was just like, okay, I'm not going to eat,
Mhm,
this way. I'm going to choose fresh, alive food. And
mhm.
not that I didn't eat good before, because that's my background is health food and all that. But,
Yeah.
it's that nighttime you have some wine and then you have some bad food, have some French fries and,
Yep. later
that
you want. Yeah.
multiplied times 5 or 10 years and lots of stress, just it's like, okay, which road do you want to go down? So,
Yep. So was it similar to the cutting off of alcohol? Like, just, man, you'd see food and it just would sort of guide you, like, oh, that isn't where I want to go, and this
yeah,
is where I want to go, and you just started eating that way.
yeah. It's like, oh, this, I'm going to eat clean.
Yeah.
I guess that's the way to do it. And then you read about all these chemicals that are in foods. And
Yep.
I mean, there's a whole thing we could get into on food and chemicals and
Absolutely.
how, it's kind of like having a potato chip. You can't just eat one.
No.
And, there's chemicals in there that make you want to have the whole bag.
Absolutely engineered for that purpose.
Yeah.
it's not you.
Yeah.
It's a agenda to get you to buy more.
Yeah. Yeah. So, those are all things that they're all choices. So,
Right.
but if you're not aware of what's making you go down that road, then you'll keep going down that road. So
That's right.
sometimes Mike Tyson's got to knock you out to wake you up.
Yeah. That's right.
Hopefully you'll live through that, though.
Right. Like you
we
did.
don't want people doing that.
No, we do not.
We want them to come out of that before they get knocked out.
Yeah. And I'm remembering your very first appointment now very vividly, having you were feeling like, man, I'm carrying everything. I'm carrying everybody.
Yeah.
And I remember the weight of that you were feeling. And just at that point, it was just the awareness that won't work. And we had a nice long discussion about, oh, that won't work.
Yeah.
So, but then it was not till later that we really got to the core of that whole belief system that was running your life. And when I say it that way, it's really true. Our life is run by the pattern in our subconscious that it's holding on to for some reason that it felt like it had to.
Yeah.
It just is. And so after, I think it was like our fourth or fifth appointment, we had to get to that piece. Now, you had already lost, I think by the time I saw you for your third or fourth session, you'd already lost 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And now you've lost 15 more.
Yeah.
It's just, every time I see you, you look younger and your skin looks, every time I see you, you look healthier. It's just like, even I saw you today walking in, I'm like, oh my gosh, you look again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It's so
it's
cool.
like, I look back and I go, wow, what a journey.
I know.
Yeah. And it wasn't hard. It was easy. It's once you make the decision, it's like, it just naturally happened,
Yeah, because you tuned into that.
Yeah.
But in the fourth or fifth session, I forget which one it was, then I was like, all right, we're going to get to the core of this belief that lives inside of you. And you were ready for it.
Yeah.
It unfolded in our conversation. And do you care if I share a little bit about the grandpa waking you up story?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, one of my friends says you wouldn't be who you were if it weren't for him, and I'm like, true.
It's 100% true.
Yeah. But, there's good and bad in that. But yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay. All right. So I'll share a little bit and then you can take it from there. So I love what you said. So the model of what happens to all of us in life is we go through hard things. Our subconscious holds on to that, creates a belief system and pattern around it that it has to stay true to because it hurts too much to not. So the consequences are too high. So our subconscious says we can't experience that again. We have to be a certain way. Okay. That will run our lives for us. We will not stray outside of it. It won't let us because it's protecting us. And that does build a bunch of strengths. Make no mistake. Trauma builds strengths. Minor trauma builds strengths. Difficulties build strengths that they give us gifts. At some point, those gifts cost too high a price.
Yeah.
And we're stuck in them. Now they start hurting us because we're supposed to grow further, not stop and stagnate.
Right.
So this is true for all of us. And Troy had one of those patterns going, and I'll let you explain how it started because we got to that in our session. We realized sort of where it started, and I'll let you tell that story.
Yeah. So I was like, ever since I've been probably 6 or 7, I've just been driven, go, 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 go. So I'm like, which is great because I'd be like, why is this guy being lazy? I'm like, let's go, come on, So
yeah.
But it started when I was probably 6. My mom would get up at 3 or 4 in the morning. She worked at a knitting mill, so she would get up to go to work at 3. And I remember the light being on in the bathroom while she's doing her hair and makeup. And then she would take me and drop me off at my grandparents at 4:30, 5 in the morning. It's really early. It was always dark.
Yeah.
So I'd come in. I was always tired. And then I'd go downstairs to my grandparents' duplex and I'd fall asleep because they were sleeping. So I went downstairs and slept. And I still remember one day my grandpa's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like downstairs sleeping. It's probably 8 o'clock.
Hmm.
He's like, "You're being lazy. You need to get up." And so he's like cracking the whip, And ever since then, I just was like, I gotta go, gotta go. Don't
Uh-huh.
have time to rest. Gotta go.
Yeah,
Got stuff to do.
that's right.
I mean, I'm still that way to this day, but it's like, wait, chill out, dude. You need to have some downtime.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what led me to
Yep.
my event was I'm just go 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 go. No chill time.
That's right. So how old were you?
With
When
my
you
grandpa,
uh-huh.
probably 6-ish,
Uh-huh.
5, 6.
Okay, I want to highlight that story because that means that at 6 years old, you're just sleeping. You're
Yeah,
sleeping until you wake up
yeah,
or until someone wakes you up, but it could be a nice gentle wake up like, "Sweetheart,
yes,
it's time to get up for school." But it wasn't that.
no,
You're like, "Oh, what are you doing being lazy?" Like, "Oh, something's wrong." So 6-year-old you is like, "Oh, something's wrong with me if I'm sleeping. Bad things happen. I'm a bad person."
yeah,
Because that's how you feel when you're just startled awake like that. And then your subconscious grabs onto that and says, "Oh, we can't be that because look at how grandpa feels about me
yeah,
when I'm that."
yeah.
From that point forward, you weren't that anymore. Is it true?
Very true.
It
Yeah,
is true. And the beauty of that story is you were a go-getter. You were successful. You were an athlete. Now you're a very successful practice owner, one of the largest in the country, right?
yeah,
Also raised a family, a beautiful, thriving family who you serve and care for and all of this, but you were just carrying it and
yeah,
go, 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 not stopping
yeah,
until your heart couldn't take it anymore,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, yeah. My body was like, nope, we're going to shut down on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's that mind-body connection. We may have a psychological pattern running us, but our body isn't made to live that way.
right.
At some point, until we become more aware, it's going to hurt us more.
Hmm.
And I'm just going to highlight that point for a second. The more aware we are, the better our life will become.
Yeah,
Your life, once you became aware of this, became
better.
better.
Well, I'll tell you, before my incident at the golf range, I felt like I kept telling my wife, I'm like, I feel like I just need to take a nap for 5 days. Like,
Uh-huh.
I just want to go somewhere and sleep for 5 days.
Yeah.
Little did I know I'd be in the hospital for 5 days
Right.
sleeping, So
It's also interesting. What if you had? What
yeah,
if you listened to your
yeah,
inner guidance system? You know what, honey, I need a 5-day break. I need a retreat. And you had done it.
yeah,
Wonder what would have happened.
yeah. I might have reset myself, instead
Mhm.
of being in the hospital with all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that point because our bodies, ourselves are talking to us. But we've been conditioned to listen to everything else, what
yeah.
other people think, what they're going to say.
Hmm.
And so all that we're doing in my office is removing those layers and
Yeah,
getting us in touch with the deepest self, which made you stop drinking
yeah.
and made
And
you lose 40 pounds.
and I could see where the social media and all that stuff for kids now is like they can't unplug from it and
I
they're not
know.
in touch with themselves. So
I see it all the time.
yeah,
It's worrisome. I
yeah,
see it because they're still developing a sense of self before they get invaded.
yeah,
And they're now programmed to think about how they're visually, how they're liked, how they're accepted
yeah,
by some world out there
yeah,
before they even know who they are.
yeah,
No, there's a lot of work to be done.
yeah. I
in
could
that.
just see that how that could create that similar pattern in somebody.
It does. It absolutely does. Okay, so your heart said nope, no more, and then we got to the psychological session.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
then we did, and now this is what's fascinating. It was when we did that session, and the way I did it is what I do with any psychological pattern I see is through age regression, and I've talked about it on this show before, but just to do a quick summary, what it is I had you for your type, I had you pick up while you're in hypnosis that bring up that feeling of gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, because you knew something was there.
yeah,
When you felt that feeling, I asked the subconscious to take me to other times you felt that way.
Mhm.
And it brought you to a couple of different memories that you didn't even necessarily remember. The
Right.
bee sting one was
right,
one.
right,
But it brings you to a memory where you felt that way. And that was where the pattern got wired in you. Because
Mhm.
from that point forward, you became, I have to be go, 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 or bad things happen.
yeah,
And in that moment, then I had you look at that kid that was you. And do you remember that?
yes.
Can you tell about what that was
The
like
bee
for you?
sting
Yeah,
story? Yeah, yeah. Well, when I was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3, that'd be my guess. I think I was wearing diapers or not diapers. Maybe I was
Mhm.
naked running around.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember my mom telling me the story, but I remember getting stung like a bee went under my armpit, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm running around like a crazy man with,
Yeah.
I got stung. So I was like running around. But then we talked about grandpa, and I went, ooh, that's kind of where that, when the bee stung me, that adrenaline, I had to
Yeah.
move to get away from it. Same thing with my grandpa.
That's right.
So he woke me up. So, I got to move to get away from this.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And did you even remember that bee sting before we regressed to it?
no, I mean, I've had thoughts of it, not very often, but
Okay.
I remember it. But now I go, okay. So putting those two together
Yeah.
with the grandpa and the bee sting, I'm like, oh, okay. So I've been on the go since I was 2 years old, getting stung by a bee.
Yeah, absolutely. And then grandpa just kept it going.
Yeah,
And
but I just, it's those patterns. You go, ooh, how can I interrupt this thing?
That's right. And then do you remember looking at little you? And because what happens is the adult in my chair can see the child self,
Mm-hmm.
and then can really genuinely look, is there anything wrong with that child? Can that child, should he be able to relax? Should he be able to, wake up slowly?
Right.
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 And the answer is obviously yes, which teaches you, wait a second, I don't have to be that way. It was just the circumstances that forced me to believe I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. When that happens, it changes the entire story and aligns you with the truth that was always true for you.
Right.
It was always true that you deserved to be woken up gently and kindly. You didn't do anything terrible. You weren't lazy. It wasn't true.
Right. Right.
It was never true.
Right.
And now you know that. Would you say now I know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And you didn't before?
No.
That's why it's so powerful, because we align now up with what's true. And I said earlier, it's the truth that heals. It's not time. Otherwise, that pattern wouldn't have run until you were 50. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. So then we do that session, which rewrites the whole story back to what was always true of you. And then what happened?
Came out of AFib after 2 years.
Say that again.
I came out of AFib after 2 years.
2 years of
2 years of
irregular heart
chronic AFib.
just went away.
Yeah, and I had congestive heart failure. So the nurses are like, that's a scary diagnosis. It just means your heart's not pumping blood
Yeah.
as efficient as it should.
Yeah.
So they call it congestive heart failure.
Yes. And so now?
Now I'm out of AFib.
Yep.
It's been, I don't know, three months, maybe 4 months. And then there's a cardiology guy who wants to put a defibrillator in me. So I'm kind of going back and forth with him.
Yeah.
He's like, well, their mindset is it's not a matter of if you go back into AFib, it's when. And I'm like, I've been out of it 3 months and I feel totally different than before. I just felt exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm ready to just take a chili,
Yeah.
a chill pill
Yeah.
in the ground kind of thing. I get when I look back at it. So now I'm like, I feel alive. I want to get up and move and exercise. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just a different vibe now.
I love it. So after that session, next time I saw you, you said, my heart went into a normal sinus rhythm.
Yes.
Hadn't been that way for 2 years. Now it is.
Yep.
So something's going on. I'm not making medical claims. I'm not saying send me all your heart patients. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But it's worth observing what happened. You stopped drinking. You lost 40 pounds. Then we rewrote the whole psychological pattern that had been living in you.
Mm-hmm.
You're back to the truth. And now suddenly your heart's not doing that anymore.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So now, and you asked your cardiologist about this too, right? When it first went into normal sinus rhythm,
Yeah.
you went, hey, does this happen? Right? Tell them about that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I talked to the cardiologist nurse and, cause I had a follow-up,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, hey, I'm out of AFib. And I asked the nurse, I go, have you ever seen anybody come out of AFib after 2 years? And they're like, well, it's possible. I go, in your practice and however long you've been doing this, have you ever seen anybody come out of AFib after 2 years? And they're like, no.
Beautiful.
So I'm like, so I'm kind of an anomaly. They don't know what to do with me,
I love that. Don't you love being an anomaly?
Yeah. And it's kind of a challenge because, they want you to go down a certain road. And then I'm like, wait, do I need to go down that road or?
Right.
I'm like,
you with a lot of questions.
you got to make your own decision. So
That's right. So let's talk about that. Now you've got this dilemma. They're saying, well, you're going to go back in. That's a mindset.
Yeah.
Now you have a pretty good idea that mindset shift may have created this wonderful new way of being.
Yeah.
It made you do all these wonderful things. Now someone brings in a mindset of like, you're automatically going to go back into it. It's like, do I take that mindset on? Do I need to?
Yeah, I don't want to take that on.
Right.
I'm like, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not going to manifest that, you know?
Right.
I want like I'll check I have a watch that can check my sinus rhythm, and I look at it every day. I'm like, stay in there. I just look at it and go, I'm in sinus rhythm.
Uh-huh.
I know what it feels like.
Yeah. You get used to
I know
it.
what AFib feels like.
Yeah.
So.
And it's making you feel alive and energetic and playful, and you're doing all these fun, cool things with your videos. We'll get into that in a minute. Okay. Awesome. So were you also scheduled for an ablation?
They wanted to do an ablation on me.
What did you do with that?
Well, I actually talked to the guy that does the ablation. I talked to him 3 different times. 2 on the phone because we got snow and stuff, so we could only do phone consults.
Uh-huh.
And then the third one we met in person. I took my wife, and they're like, yeah, we still want to do an ablation. I'm like, but I'm out of AFib. What are you going to ablate? Yeah. Well, he's like, you're probably going to go back into it, and then you went into VTAC, so you're probably going to go back into that rhythm. But VTAC's a bad rhythm.
Yes.
It's not life sustaining if you're in VTAC.
For sure.
So anyway, so I'm kind of like, innately, I'm like, I'm not vibing with that mindset. And
right.
I understand where he's coming from. Legally, you got to do all that.
Yeah.
And then plus he probably sees a lot of people that haven't made any lifestyle shifts.
Yes.
They keep doing what they're doing and what got them where they're at. And I'm like, nope, not going back there.
Not you. You're not doing that.
I'm gonna do a different pattern here.
Yeah. So at this point, are you just kind of watching? Did you cancel the ablation, or you?
I haven't ever scheduled it. I'm actually doing some follow-up testing.
Okay, good.
Because they do ejection fracture testing, so at least over 50%. I was like when I went into the hospital, I was 20% ejection fracture, and then I went up to 36.
Which is better or worse?
36 is better than 20.
Okay, gotcha.
So anything above 50 is in the normal range. So, 50 to 80.
Okay, so you're going to keep getting that checked and see if you can.
Well, I want to go get it checked, and I'm like, well, if my ejection fracture is normal, why would I need to, So these are just questions I have in my mind, and of course, the medics are like, this is what we do, and I get it, but I get to make the decision. I always tell my patient, I go, you're in charge of your health, you get to make the decision.
Right. Yeah.
If it feels right to you, then do it. If it doesn't, then explore your options.
That's right. So that's kind of what you're doing now. You're dancing that line, like, I'm going to watch and test and see. And if I ever feel like I should, then I will. And if I really don't.
And I have another cardiology, like a holistic cardiologist that practiced traditional cardiology. So I've been talking to him. He still does traditional stuff, ablations and pacemakers. So we're like, let's do some more testing just to see your risk factors. Yeah. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're in VTAC. Well, you have a really high risk of going back into it. But what if you stop doing these things that put you at high risk?
That's right. Okay.
I always say, with the AFib, I was doing all the do nots.
Yeah.
Do not drink, do not, stay up late, do not stress. I was doing them all.
Yeah.
I was doing all the do nots.
That's right. And tell the audience what you're doing now. What does your typical day look like now?
So now, like I'll get up. I like to get up a little slower, not so fast, like we talked about with Grandpa waking you up. So I like to get up, make some sole. I don't know if I ever talked about that. Sole, it's a Himalayan salt that you immerse these rocks that you immerse in water, and then you take 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, put it in your water every morning. I used to have people go in Germany in these Himalayan salt caves, and they would heal them from various things. They'd sit in these caves. So you can put it in your water and create that environment. Anyway, it's called Soul. So I do that. And then I have a regimen of supplements that I take. And then I meditate. And then I got into, after, I was scared with my heart. I was like, what am I going to do? So I went to cardiac rehab. And I went for 3 months. And then I gained, they put you on a ECG. It was weird because I had AFib for the first 2 months of cardiac rehab. And I just look at the graph because they put up on a screen, you could see everybody's heart. Yeah. I was just mesmerized by the graph. So I was like, that's going to go back one day. Wow. Anytime I was in the hospital, I just stare at the graph and try to figure it out. So when I came out of AFib, and that graph's there, I'm like, cool. But what was really exciting is they teach you how to there's a term called METs, which is exercise level. So if you're 3 METs, not as good as if you can do 8 METs of exercise. So, anyway, they got me up to doing 8.5 METs, which is like a really fast walk and for 30 minutes. And I'd work out actually for 45 and lift weights. And I went, oh, okay. So I started working out again. Yeah. Before I'd like work out once a week with a trainer, but it was nothing like consistent. Yeah. So just building that confidence with my heart that, hey, it's strong. It really made a huge difference. Beautiful. So now that's what I do in the morning. Meditate, work out, stretch. Like this morning, my wife and I did my treadmill, and then we lifted weights, and then we did some yoga. Lovely. Call it senior citizen yoga. She laughed at me. I'm like, it's gentle yoga. It's gentle stretching. Yeah. I've done hot yoga with somebody who's like 12 years old. Yeah. And that hurts. Right. I don't want it to hurt. Right. I want to feel relaxed when I'm done, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that, the hot yoga or the extreme running, the ultra marathon, like there's extreme exercise. That's a whole different mindset of, go, go, go. But you're doing exercise that is slow and steady. You want to be around long haul. I love it. Long haul. And then, my goal is to eat 3 times a day. There's some Ayurvedic medicine principles of like create a circadian rhythm for eating. Yeah. Like, I remember when I was in the hospital, I'm like, man, they got me into that rhythm of breakfast, lunch, dinner. Yeah. Instead of snacking all day long. Yeah. There's been so much distortion of the just 3 meals a day, some which is probably grounded in real science, like, some fasting, science is out there, but it's amazing when you just sort of tune back in 3 meals a day. Yeah. That classic. Yeah. It's like, I would get hungry. You're like, oh, I'm hungry. That's when you should eat. Exactly. So that was kind of, it took the stress off my metabolism and my body. And so I could focus on healing and not just digesting whatever's in your body. Yeah. Amazing. Wow. And then, of course, meditation's helped. And I've got affirmations and goals. And then I got into some other things that we can talk about. Well, I want to talk about that a little bit, because another thing that began happening as I was working with you, as I saw all this creativity come through you. It's like once you became healthy and aligned up with yourself, then you became a conduit for creativity. Tell about some of the projects that are coming out of you. So I was in the hospital, and I'd actually written a book about 10, 15 years ago called Take Charge of Your Health. So I came across a publisher. I'm like, hey, can you republish my book? I want to change it. Yeah. So we start talking. I'm like, yeah, he's like, send me your book. And my old publisher went out of business. So I'm like, help me revise this. So we're working on that. But then I just started thinking about, I want to do a spinal decompression book. So we're talking about that. I'm like, yeah. And then he's kind of telling me what he does. And I'm like, what I really want to do is I want to write a book about golf, Yeah. And so he got excited, and I told him my story about what happened to me at the golf range. And I was like, well, I think we're going to call it How Not to Die at the Golf Range. Not how not to die playing golf, or something like that. Right. We haven't titled it yet, but we're on chapter 7 or 8, I believe. Wow. So we're halfway through completing this book. And then he's like, I'll throw in a free cookbook for you. Wow. You're going to do a cookbook too? So I'll have 4 books here coming out after this whole thing. And then I created a TikTok channel. My friend, me and him, we did some stand-up comedy in Portland at the comedy club. Wow. We did open mic night. So we had a little fun. So we like to joke around, but he's like, you really should do some TikTok videos of golf. Just kind of have fun with it. Yeah. I've seen one of them. It was really funny. It's just fun, so the creativity comes and goes, but I'm like, oh, let's just have fun. I'll take lessons, and I'll maybe share those lessons with people. And now my daughter's playing golf, my son a little bit. So my goal is to, create a golf therapy for people to come see us, or even some training at my house. That was one of my visions. I have a simulator and all kinds of stuff that we can use. I have a workout area. Yeah. But I'm like, that was kind of my vision. Like, how can I take my experience? Because golf really, I think, helped me break away from being stuck in my serve patients rut. Yeah. Not that it was a rut. I mean, I love taking care of patients, but I'm like, oh, I got something else I can do. It rounds you out and makes you more, of a whole person, and having a little more fun and carefree time, as well as just the mission. And being out in nature is like amazing. Yeah. I mean, I like checking out different courses and just seeing the grass, and that's probably my favorite part. I mean, I like to get the ball in there for par or birdie, you know, those are all good things too. But
Yeah.
just being out in nature and walking around and
Yeah.
seeing the different wildlife is cool. And then hanging out with your friends, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, Troy, you're just an example of someone right now who's just it looks to me like you're fully alive.
Yeah.
You're not just recovered from an
Yeah.
incident, you're fully alive now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know
I'd
the
agree with that.
difference.
Oh, yeah.
So I love that you're expressing this to the audience because it started with one thing and it's become all of these beautiful things. You're more playful. You're more calm. You're still making the same difference that you've always been making, but now you're making even more of a difference doing things that are also just fun and enjoyable and carefree too. It's just blossoming and feeding more people and feeding you. And I love for people to see how you do one thing that leads to another, that leads to another, that then turns you into living this way.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure and a privilege to have you on my show.
Well, thank you.
Your story is going to matter to a lot of people. And I want you to know that you just living your best life the way that you are is helping people realize, wow, all this is possible. Yeah. And so just you're spending the time with me today and sharing this story is going to have even a greater impact.
Well, yeah, that's always been my mission, is to help people get well, you know?
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you came on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Before we sign off, is there anything else that you think would be good for the audience to hear from you?
I mean, you know, don't give up. I mean, I had some goals in my office. It took me 15 years to hit those goals. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, if you have a mindset, I'm going to figure out how to lose 20 pounds. It might take you a year, might take you 5 years. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it doesn't take you a hospital visit, you know, or something like that, or an ambulance ride. But, you know, write your goals down and you know, you'll move in that direction. Yeah. That's kind of been my takeaway with this whole thing.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Absolutely.
All right. Wow, it was such a pleasure to talk with Troy today. I'm so glad that he was able to come on. And thank you for being a part of my audience and listening to this story and others. And please feel free to share, like, and subscribe so that other people can hear Troy's wonderful story, because it has great implications for all of us. And please leave a comment. If there was something that resonated with you, I would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts. So thanks so much for being a part of it.